Parents have worked hard to raise their kids, and they're excited and that they've gotten into a good school and that they're going to be starting something new in their lives.
What we're trying to do is, for the next oil spill, to be much better prepared in terms of the reaction to the spill.
What these students did in 7 weeks, now 8 weeks, is unbelievable. And that's a skill set they'll carry with them the rest of their lives.
Hello, I'm Denise White, and welcome to University Beat. It's a new school year at USF for students, especially first-time students. That means new friends, new challenges, and new opportunities. For their parents, that means saying goodbye, wishing them well, and wondering, how do we get all this stuff up to the dorm room? Here are some sights and sounds of move-in day, first from St. Petersburg.
Do we happen to bring any bungee cords? To add a rope or anything?
Plenty of rope there on the left.
We do have a lot of stuff. We had already moved one child already before, so we were already ready. So we have everything on wheels, as many wheels as we could find to load up to make it easier.
Move-in day is going really well. We've had all of our new students, that includes our first-year students and our transfer students moving in today. So far, over 300 students have moved in. I would say the most common question that people are asking is, how can I get a cart to move in? Or when are the elevators going to be free? So it's all those little details that we don't have the answers to, but we want to make sure that we're giving them direction and giving them water, making sure that they're comfortable during their wait to get upstairs to their rooms. They also want to know, where can I get lunch? So we've been directing everyone here to the Reef. It's surprising how many people come and they're like, I need linens.
We are only 45 minutes away, so if she's forgotten anything, then we can get it to her pretty quickly.
By the end of the day, I think they feel like they've accomplished a lot.
Probably take a nap. I'm probably going to take a nap the first time I'm here. Really tired from waking up super early.
Saying goodbye is always tough, but we do have a lot of students that aren't coming from that far. They know they're going to see their parents again soon, and then some of them can't wait to get in the car and take off, or to have their parents take off. So it's kind of a mixed bag. You never quite know exactly what you're going to get, but it's also a sweet time. Parents have worked hard to raise their kids, and they're excited and that they've gotten into a good school and that they're going to be starting something new in their lives.
I'll miss my parents, honestly, but I think it's time for me to kind of have new experiences and meet new people.
Mixed feelings. She's leaving and she's our last one to go of 2, so it's mixed. We're very excited for her to be leaving and going on to her next step in her journey. But of course we're empty nesters now, so we are getting a little emotional about it, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
On the Tampa campus, move-in day kicked off WOW, or Week of Welcome. There were housing information booths set up in the Marshall Student Center with volunteers there to help the newcomers. Even Rocky tried to lend a hand, or hoof, as the case may be. The idea was to make certain all of the 5,300 students moving in got the right key to the right room.
Centralized in the Marshall Student Center is our grand opening, where students check in, receive their keys, and then they go to their individual buildings where they're assigned, where we have 500 Bull Hall volunteers that are ready to help them unload their cars and settle into their new home for the year.
On-campus housing is a little more challenging this year due to the demolition of some of USF's older dorms to make way for a new housing village.
This year we are embarking on a new residential village project that is going on the north side of campus, and so we've taken down 3 of our buildings, and so we have a little bit of a reduced occupancy. So we probably have a couple of hundred fewer students that are on campus this year.
The first phase of the new housing units is expected to be ready for next fall. This year's Week of Welcome ended with what has become a USF tradition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The dropping of balloons from the ceiling of the Marshall Center atrium. That signals the official start of the semester. So how is the semester going? Who better to ask than the president of the University of South Florida System, Dr. Judy Genshaft. President Genshaft, welcome to University Beat.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
You made a big announcement at this week's fall address to the university regarding research grants and contracts. What was that about?
A research university is all about new discoveries and best practices. That's our responsibility. So our number of research grants and contracts actually reflects how well we're doing with our responsibility in terms of research. With $458 million every year in grants and contracts, we're in the top 25 of all public universities in the United States.
How does the new number compare with where USF was 10 years ago?
Well, let me compare it when I started. That was in year 2000. We had $175 million in grants and contracts and research, and now we're $458 million. And when I started, we had about 38,000 students. Now we have almost 50,000 students.
Over the summer, USF was designated by the Florida Board of Governors as an emerging preeminent university. What does that mean for the school, and what is the path forward to full preeminent status?
Well, there are certain metrics that make up the preeminent status according to the state of Florida, and we are very close to receiving that preeminent status, so that's why they said emerging. But the other two institutions that are preeminent are 100 years older than we are. So we're one of the 3 institutions with the title of preeminent in our name. But that's a very special, it's building on excellence.
What will it take now to get to the top rung?
Well, we have just a couple of more measures that we need to work on, and we'll be there. So it won't take us long. We have, I have a commitment that we'll get there in 2018.
You know, one of the most prestigious organizations the university can be invited to join is the Association of American Universities. There are only 60 members, all of them very elite schools. Is USF moving into a position for a possible invitation to join the association?
Absolutely. We are positioning the university in such a way that should we be invited, our credentials are absolutely a best fit for this organization. And it's the premier public and private institutions in the United States. So again, we're young according to those. I mean, it was formed in 1900s, early 1900s, and we're 1956. So, but we are on the move. We're moving, and it's definitely something that the credentials alone will speak for themselves.
Where are you now in the $1 Billion Unstoppable campaign? Are you close to reaching that goal?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. First of all, I have to tell you, for an institution as young as USF is, to have a $1 billion campaign is amazing. And we just announced today that we have hit $939 million toward that $1 billion campaign. So we're getting closer and closer and closer.
Well, on behalf of the community and the students and the faculty, thank you.
My pleasure. I love it. I love it.
Dr. Genshaft.
And I have something for you.
Thank you.
I thought you might like a visor.
Absolutely.
Or if a baseball hat is better.
I think this is perfect right here.
There you go. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls. Dr. Genshaft, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
There has been much the news recently about relations between police and the people they serve. In some communities, especially Black and Hispanic communities, those relations are strained. There is distrust and there has been violence, even death, on both sides. The U.S. Justice Department has adopted a new training program for its law enforcement officers. It's designed to help ease the tension through self-awareness, and it was developed by a USF professor. Hedel Gandhi explains.
From Ferguson to Baltimore, Cleveland to Baton Rouge, people have been protesting what they claim are the unjustified deaths of young African-American men at the hands of police. Dr. Lori Friedel, Associate Professor of Criminology at USF, developed a policing program that focuses on teaching officers about their own implicit bias.
So for instance, a person reaching it back into their car, maybe to get their driver's license. There can be very different perceptions, whether or not that person is a young African-American male or a white woman in professional dress. We would interpret those situations very differently based on our implicit biases.
Following the controversial Trayvon Martin case, police in Sanford requested Dr. Friedel's expertise. Her program is also used as a proactive tool by many agencies, including the Tampa Police Department. Corporal Kim Hill not only attended the program, she now trains fellow officers at TPD on why recognizing implicit bias is so important.
If you don't realize you have it, how can you control it? Or how can you participate in behavior to reduce it when you're not even aware of it? So for me, the biggest thing was first recognizing, oh, okay, it's normal to have biases.
Our biases took us a lifetime to develop, so they're not going away quickly. There are actually, says the scientist, ways to reduce your biases, but those will never go to zero, so it's also important to manage them.
Friedel says not managing those biases can cause systematic failures in policing. Recent investigations by the Department of Justice revealed unfair practices of racial profiling by police in Baltimore and Ferguson. But the DOJ also faces its own criticism for not developing any standard training programs. Now the department is asking for Friedel's help on the federal level.
We were very excited when we got the call this year from the U.S. Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, asking us if we would customize our curriculum for the U.S. DOJ law enforcement agencies.
23,000 officers will now undergo the training.
So as opposed to always having white males as your target, you mix it up. White, black, Hispanic, you do female males. Well, the study showed that the more officers trained with diverse targets, the more efficient they were on the streets when they actually dealt with minorities.
Contact theory says positive interaction with people who are different from you can reduce your biases. So the more we have positive contact with Muslims, with transgender individuals, with the homeless, that can actually reduce your biases.
Corporate Hill says creating a safe environment where officers feel comfortable speaking out and sharing their experiences is a key part of the training. Change won't happen overnight, but fair and impartial training could be the first step in preventing more incidents of racial profiling by police officers.
It's sad. It's sad. And it's not just sad as a police officer. It's sad as a community member. It's not one-sided. And I feel like that's what people have to really remember. I don't look at the police against the citizens. We're one. So we have to unite and just stop the violence.
For University Beat, I'm Hedel Gandhi.
USF scientists are wrapping up an unprecedented look at two of the worst oil spills in history, and they hope one will give insight into the long-term impact of the other. Researchers from the College of Marine Science at USF St. Petersburg have spent nearly 40 days on the Gulf of Mexico aboard the Weatherbird 2. They're collecting fish, plankton, and sediment samples from areas affected by the 2010 Deepwater Horizon spill. And those will be compared with samples they're taking from the Bay of Campeche, southwest of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, site of a 1979 spill.
That spill lasted for 9 months. It was about 2/3 the volume of Deepwater Horizon, and our earlier work has showed that some of that oil is buried in the sediments down around the Campeche. So we're going to try to match up the sediment samples that we have in the northern Gulf of Mexico that were taken from Deepwater Horizon with the southern ones.
Murawski, who's leading the expedition, says the comparison might predict lingering effects 30 years from now from the Deepwater Horizon spill.
The other major thing that we're trying to do is establish what we call a Gulf-wide baseline. Before Deepwater Horizon, nobody knew what the sediment contamination was, in a broad sense. Nobody knew what the contamination of fishes looked like. Of course, now in the northern Gulf, with our Deepwater Horizon work, we have that baseline. But having a baseline throughout the Gulf is much more important.
Murawski says that data will help authorities better deal with any future spills.
Ultimately, what we're trying to do is, for the next oil spill, to be much better prepared in terms of the reaction to the spill, the types of measures that we need to employ very quickly in order to mitigate the effects of the spill. And really, a lot of our research is to try to look at those mechanisms that the first responders used and see if they're worth the time and effort that they actually put in using them.
A grant from the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative is paying for the expedition. Borowski says the mission is complicated by its length, the fact that it includes researchers from multiple American and Mexican universities, and that it requires numerous permits from the Mexican government. If you spend any time at all watching television, there's a good chance you'll see a show about tiny houses. A tiny house generally is defined as a dwelling under 500 square feet. Now the city of St. Petersburg is looking at using these small structures to help solve its homeless problem. And a class at the USF School of Architecture and Community Design is playing a part. Mark Schreiner reports the plan initially is targeting a specific part of the homeless population, veterans.
With Celebrate Outreach, a St. Petersburg interfaith group that serves the homeless acting as the client, students in the Mini Homes for Homeless Veterans class had one charge: design an innovative, energy-efficient, permanent home and keep it under 500 square feet.
Our house is just a shelter, and we wanted to think of this and build up on the idea of one's home. What do we need to design, or how do we shape the space to generate one's home?
But those questions lead to other challenges, like integrating the homes into the existing character-filled neighborhoods of St. Petersburg.
That was a challenge. How do you create this new housing typology, and you do it in a way that is respectful to the architectural vocabulary that the city has to offer?
And Architecture Laboratories manager Michael Lemieux had one more job: keeping students' ideas from becoming too outlandish, particularly since the hope is to keep the cost of a house around $30,000.
I'm trying to keep everybody practical. I'm trying to keep the materials limited to things that are widely available. Hopefully these designs will be mass producible in the end. And so what that requires is that these systems and materials are available to anybody, anywhere.
3 groups of students, which included a pair of student veterans, were chosen to present their designs to members of Celebrate Outreach and other local groups.
I just think that this is a great opportunity for the students and to come into contact with the community and really get a feeling for who it is that's going to occupy the dwellings that they're designing.
Bradenton architect and School of Architecture graduate J.B. Taylor will take all 3 sets of designs and turn them into actual construction plans.
The level of care and sophistication that goes into something that's about 400 square feet is the same that goes into a 400,000 square foot building. The difference is the amount of actual physical work that is involved.
The next phase for the tiny homes is actually building them, and it's possible the students will be involved in that process as well.
We're hoping to get both the recipients, the vets, to play an active role. We're looking for volunteers, as well as trade people that we're getting together that will help do the actual nuts and bolts of the thing. The electrical and plumbing and some of those areas are a little more sticky for volunteers.
In addition to manpower, they're also going to need money and a place to build the tiny homes.
Once I think we have the tangible materials, we can start actively fundraising, and we're hoping to be able to secure some land through maybe some negotiations with the city of St. Petersburg and start developing these things hopefully in the fall.
So when the homes are built, it'll be a win for everyone. The community gets homeless off the streets, veterans receive a place to live, and students take what they've learned to make a difference for a person in need.
What these students did in 7 weeks, now 8 weeks, is unbelievable. And that's a skill set they'll carry with them the rest of their lives. And if somehow or another this makes it back, I just want to make sure that they know they did a great job.
For University Beat, I'm Mark Schreiner.
There was a familiar face on the pitcher's mound at Tropicana Field this summer. It was Dr. Sandra Stone, Regional Chancellor of USF Sarasota Manatee. The Rays hosted USF Night July 30th against the New York Yankees, and Dr. Stone was invited to throw out the ceremonial first pitch. Dr. Stone came to USF just about 2 years ago from Dalton State College in Georgia, where she had been Vice President for Academic Affairs. So, how was that first pitch? Just a bit outside. The Herd of Thunder, USF's marching band, highlights this week in USF history. The band made its debut on September 10th, 1999. That was 2 years after the university launched its football program. There's one other bit of USF history we'd like to share with you. Us. This week, WUSF-TV marks its 50th anniversary.
The following is a WUSF-TV production.
WUSF signed on September 12th, 1966, and at the time we only had 10 watts of power, so we didn't go very far. We went to the campus and surrounding areas. When we signed on, we were on 3 to 10 p.m., and it was only weekdays. We weren't on weekends. We are college telecourses. It was distance learning, and it was the very beginning of distance learning, actually. We were in the basement of the Student Services Building, which at the time was the library. It was one of only a few buildings on campus, actually. And we had 24-inch cement columns in our studio. So when we taped programs, we had to work around those columns in order to do the shows. So it wasn't ideal, but we made it work. In about 1975, 1976, it was the mid-70s, we built a tower in Riverview and expanded our power and our viewing area. And along with that, we expanded our broadcast day. And so we were broadcasting more hours. We incorporated some PBS programming along with programming from other sources, and served not only the students, but served the community. We did a lot of local production in the 70s and the 80s. We had Weekend, we had Carousel, we had Tony Pizzo's Tampa was a very popular show. He was a well-known historian and businessman. In 2001, we moved into this great facility that we're in now, and we have 2 terrific studios, no more cement columns. One very large studio and one a little bit smaller, but it allows us to do a lot of things. So in addition to some of the locally produced series that we did, we were able to do some documentaries. Search for the USS Maine and Superbugs, the killer viruses, both of those programs were distributed nationally. So we work a lot with independent producers. Over the years, we have done The Fabulous Rockers, JFK, the 50th anniversary. The most recent is The Forgotten Coast Return to Wild Florida, and that was a great project working with the Florida Wildlife Corridor folks. All 3 of those shows debuted here on WUSF. We've had student involvement here at the station since we signed on the air. And in the beginning, they did a lot of work in the studio. And over the years, they continued that work. But we have worked with them in a lot of different ways. There are advanced production classes, news classes, and so on in the Mass Comm department. And we work with those students and professors on full-length programming, on news breaks. And we have students who continue to work here today. And it's a great experience for them. We try to differentiate ourselves. We do a lot of British drama, and that's really popular with our viewers. We do a lot of how-to programming in the mornings, and that's something that other local stations don't offer as well. So we try to fill in the spaces where people want programming, but they're not able to find it somewhere else.
WUSF Kids, a community-based, round-the-clock channel just for children.
We have WUSF Kids, which is on 16.2, and that's our 24/7 kids channel. And then we have WUSF Create. That's a lifestyle channel, and that does airs a lot of painting programs, travel programs, cooking programs. I call it our happy channel. It's a lot of fun, and I hear from viewers about that channel quite a bit.
Dive into a gripping documentary with WUSF Knowledge.
And then we have WUSF Knowledge, and that's on 16:4. And that is public affairs, documentaries, and repeats of some of the favorite shows on our main channel. So when we started, we were only 10 watts, reached a small area, and over the years expanded our reach tremendously. WUSF now reaches over 800,000 viewers.
If there's a story about the University of South Florida you'd like to see us cover, there's a new way to let us know. You can download the new WUSF app. There's a contact link. Just put University Beat in the subject line. And you can also reach us via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching University Beat TV. Our email is ubeat@wusf.org, and our website is universitybeattv.org. And that is University Beat for this week, the first show of our second season. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Denise White.